Okay, so this is just a brief video to explain a little project we've been working on, and that's our homework site. And this is a method by which teachers can set homeworks very quickly and very easily, and also parents and students can view and search homework tasks online. And in addition to that, students get an email with the details of the homework, and it also gets put into their class calendar. So this is the homework site itself, and you'll see that it's got some filtering tools at the top, and then it's got some homeworks. So this is under test at the moment at school, so there's a number of teachers who are actually engaging in using this with students. So if I go for myself, for example, you can see that I've so far set 3 chemistry homeworks. One of them is a test, back when I was just setting this up. Or I can filter by subject, so I've got a number of subjects trying this out. So look for geography homeworks, or I can look for business studies homeworks, or I could filter by when it was set, or when it was due, or by the specific teaching class if I wanted to. So that's the front end of it. If I sign into this site, you'll find as a teacher I get the Submit Homework tab, and the Submit Homework tab takes me to a form where I can select a subject. I know, say history. I click on continue. I choose a history class, a year 8 history class. I type in a task, and I choose when the homework's due, and I click on submit. Now submitting at that point will make it searchable on the home page, which is visible to everybody. It will also send out a class email, and it will also put an entry in that class's class calendar indicating that there's a piece of homework due on that day and what that piece of homework is and the details of that piece of homework. If I go to edit this site, this is just an embedded form, there's nothing more to it than that. I'll show you the form that's behind it in a second. This, on the other hand, uses the it's called the Awesome Table plugin, which is a plugin for Google Sites, and it basically allows you to filter the content of a spreadsheet, and this comes from a spreadsheet. So if I just edit this page, you'll see this has got a Google gadget in. It's got the Awesome Table gadget in, and if I click on that and edit it, you can see that it's pulling some data from a Google spreadsheet. It's pulling it from a sheet within that Google spreadsheet called date, and it's pulling data from cells A through to G. And there's various configurable options in terms of how you're going to view it, table, map, and so on. And there's some formatting options as well. You can change the background, colour, date, format, and so on. It's a really cool tool to add table data, spreadsheet data into a Google site. Okay, so the site itself is relatively straightforward. It employs page level permission, so teachers will see this bit and this bit, whereas everybody else will only see view and set homework. View set homeworks. So that's the front end of it. What's going on behind it to make it actually work? Well, I've created a user called Homework, and I'm signed in this incognito browser tab as the homework user. And first of all, the form, this is the form that it works from. So this requires a multi-page form, in fact quite a lot of pages, 20-something pages on this form. And the first bit simply chooses the subject, and if I click on this one, you'll see that you've got all the subjects, and then it tells you to go to the page associated with that subject. So if we select PE, then it goes to PE. On an individual subject page, what you've got is the classes. You've got just a text box and a date entry, and then after page 2 you submit the form. So it doesn't go on then to business studies, so it just finishes at that point. And there's an option to submit another homework at the bottom of the form. One of the nice things about forms now is that you can just take a list of classes and paste it straight in if you've got a multiple choice list like this. So you don't have to type in all the class names or paste them in one at a time. So this form didn't actually take very long to create. So the form is relatively straightforward. The spreadsheet where it feeds data into is a little bit more complicated, but doesn't do anything particularly radical. So let's go to the form. So we've got some responses now. There's a lot of subjects, so we'll get a lot of replies for class, task and date set. That one there is a bit of a throwback to something else, as is that one, so don't worry about that. So this is subject, this is the username, so it's collecting the username, so it knows who the teacher is, and you've got the timestamp, which is also the date that the homework is submitted. So those two things the user doesn't have to put in. If I scroll to the right on this sheet, so we've got lots and lots of homework submit bits. There's one that somebody submitted, and you can see there's quite a lot of them. And then we've got the fields which we're going to be using to construct the email that's going to be sent out to people. It's also constructing the data that's going to go on to the site. So this uses the Formmule script, which you can see is installed on here. And if I go to the very top, there's a series of formulas which determine what appears in these cells here. So the date set is very simple, it's just equal to the timestamp. The teacher is simply equal to the name, but I don't want the @weeklypart.org bit in, so I've used the split function and the ampersand as the divider to get rid of the weeklypart.org bit, which appears in this column, but I'm not actually using that at all. The subject name is simply just the subject name, which is equal to D2. The class code, what it does is, there's probably a more elegant way of doing this, but this works, so I'm not that bothered. It adds together all of the contents of all of the columns which are entitled class. Only ever one of them is going to be filled, so it only ever returns one class code. The task set does exactly the same thing, except with the task column, and the date due again does exactly the same thing, except with the date column. The class email is exactly the same as the class name, but with the @weeklypart.org bit added on. So that's how we get the class email, which we're going to need to send emails to the class. And the class calendar looks up the calendar code for that class from a VLOOKUP table, which is just over here. So it's VLOOKUP, the class name, defined a range called class cal, looks it up in the second column and goes for an exact match. So if we'll go to this cal VLOOKUP tab here, you'll see that we've got lots of class calendar codes. Now, the way I got these is that this homework user is a member of every class, and the way I did that, we use Hapara Teacher Dashboard, so I simply added the user homework as a teacher to every single class, ran the sync tool on Hapara, and that added homework to every single class and every single class calendar. And then that allows it to be able to send the emails to every class, but it also allows it to have permission to put events into class calendars. Getting events into class calendars is not that easy. Sorry, the door just opened there. because it requires a little bit of a script, and I've got another spreadsheet for this. Copy of class calendars, I think it's that one. No, it's not that one. That's all the class lists, which I've again pulled from Para. This one here is all the class names. There we go. This one's got a script called list owned calendars. And that's a script that I got from Papara, which will extract all the calendars from a particular user, in this case homework. So anyways, we get that calendar VLOOKUP, and what I've set Formmule to do, is, if I just go back to here, what I've set Formmule to do is send an email, send a calendar invite to that class, so it appears on the class calendar. So there's a couple of other things you have to do when you've got form data like this. It's in the reverse chronological order, so the most recent one is at the bottom, where actually I want the most recent one at the top. And the way that I've gone around that is I've got this tab called collated. This pulls the data range that I want off the form, and that uses the array formula function, and you can see that I'm only interested in stuff from the form starting at CA3, and CA3 is the date submitted formula. And that gets the data out, that gets the bit of the data from the form that I'm interested in. Then to sort it into chronological order, in this next sheet here, I've got the sort function. So sort collated is the name of this sheet here, A3, so it starts on A3 and across to there. So this will sort them by this column here. So we get, ultimately this is the one that goes onto the spreadsheet, onto the website. So these things like date filter, category filter, hidden, doesn't appear, category filter, date filter. These are the things that the the website plugin uses to pull data off this sheet. And that's back to our VLOOKUP function. But when you're using Formmule to do calendar stuff, you do need to have this. This calendar code. So you need to have extracted that either manually or, as I said, using a script that I've used to extract it. And if anybody wants the script, then let me know. I'll probably put it in the blog post, the script that they sent me, because it's really useful to extract calendar codes, even just your own calendar codes. So you can see, if I just go across here, this homework here, you can see the results. Copy down the formulas, so you've got to set it to copy down the formulas, which is in the advanced options of Formmule. You've got to choose which columns it's going to copy down the formulas of. The email was sent, that's a calendar event ID, and then I've just created it as an all-day event. So if I go back to my calendar, and you can see the sort of thing that it sends. So here we've got homework 12BCH1 homework due, and it tells you the description is the description that the teacher put in originally on the form. So it's a very simple thing for the teacher to use, because they just fill in the form, which takes a few seconds to do. Students get a calendar entry, they get an email, a group email, and they can view it on the site. So there's probably no excuse for them not doing their homework. Anyway, that's just a whistle-stop tour. I'll put a few more details in the actual blog article.